Boy, chapter 39, Hezekiah is going to make a bit of a mistake. And it's going to bring on the next set of prophecy for Isaiah. It gives him an opportunity to tell Hezekiah what is coming. So they have been able to stave off Assyrian conquest. They're having their abundance, their opportunities again. But that's going to change soon. So verse 1, at the time Merodach Baladan, the son of Baladan, king of Babylon, sent letters and a present to Hezekiah, for he had heard that he had been sick and was recovered. Now you might be thinking, Babylon, why is Babylon sending Jerusalem a present? We have to understand Babylon is actually a part of the Assyrian nation at this time. But Babylon was kind of seen, part of the negotiation between those two and dealing with things is Babylon was seen as kind of the ancient kingdom, and so their culture was preserved and their people was preserved. They formed more of an alliance with Assyria rather than were dominated by Assyria. And the problem, though, was, so they're kind of a separate nation, Babylon and the Medes, the Persians, the precursors to the Persians, I should say. They were kind of these separate nations that they were allowed to stay separate from everybody else. They didn't get assimilated and taken over quite the same. They had their kingship, their localities basically there. And they did a lot of marrying, usually like an Assyrian prince would marry a Babylonian princess to try to keep the two kingdoms together. But Babylon was a thorn in Assyria's side for a lot of years. So Babylon still retained some identity of themselves. And that's what we see in here as well. So verse 2, and Hezekiah was glad of them and showed them the house of his precious things, the silver and the gold and the spices and the precious ointment and all the house of his armor and all that was found in his treasures. There was nothing in his house nor in all his dominion that Hezekiah showed them not. So this is more than just sending a letter. So he sent this letter and present to Hezekiah. Hezekiah's like, let me show you what I've got, and showed him all the wealth and abundance of Jerusalem and Judah. And that's what happened, basically. And so they went back going, hey, Babylon, Israel is loaded with goods, with amazing stuff. Now verse 3, then came Isaiah the prophet unto King Hezekiah and said unto him, what said these men? And from whence came they unto thee? And Hezekiah said, they are come from a far country unto me, even from Babylon. Now here's the thing that's interesting. So Isaiah is like, hey, who are those guys that left? Where did they come from? And Hezekiah said, oh yeah, these guys are from this far off land, this nation on the far east of us called Babylon. And I'm sure Isaiah went, oh, Babylon, okay. Now I'm going to put one to one together here with what God has told me. So verse 4, then said he, what have they seen? So this is Isaiah speaking to Hezekiah. What have they seen in thine house? And Hezekiah answered, all that is in mine house have they seen. There is nothing among my treasures that I have not showed them. Then said Isaiah to Hezekiah, hear the word of the Lord of hosts. So here's the message. Verse 6, behold, the days come that all that is in thine house and that which thy fathers have laid up in store until this day shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Lord. That's a big deal. So Isaiah is saying, God wants me to tell you that in the future, Babylon is going to take all of the things that you just showed them, and they're going to carry it to Babylon. So Babylon is going to conquest Jerusalem. They're going to conquer them and take them over. Verse 7, and of thy sons that shall issue from thee, which thou shalt beget, shall they take away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. Then said Hezekiah to Isaiah, good is the word of the Lord which thou hast spoken. He said, moreover, for there shall be peace and truth in my days. So that Hezekiah's going, okay, I'm not going to be around for that. I know during my time period, we're going to have peace and prosperity. So really interesting. In fact, Hugh Nibley in his book, Old Testament Related Studies, made this comment about this chapter. He said, Isaiah is very much into the international picture in which the fatal flaw is the assumption that things are in the hands of the great man of the earth, while in fact there are no great men, but just ordinary guys with disastrous delusions of grandeur. So that's the thing. These kingdoms, these rulers think they're amazing, mighty people showing off the wealth they have. And really, it's kind of a boys with toys situation, in honesty. God's going to take all of what you have and give it to them. They're going to take it over, and you won't have it anymore. It's gone. You're just regular men. The status you have, the wealth you have doesn't make you. You're still human men. God is in charge. You need to remember that, basically. And this is important because if you go back to Isaiah chapter 13, that is when the Lord revealed to Isaiah the destruction of Babylon. To Babylon, I should say, when Babylon comes in, they destroy everything, and then Babylon eventually will get destroyed too themselves and be wiped out, which we don't have. There's nothing today around for Babylon other than their language, some tablets and ruins and stuff like that, and archaeology. They're gone. They were destroyed. If you remember in Isaiah 13, that is the sign of the destruction of the wicked in the second coming. This is why understanding Assyria and Babylon are very important. If you want to understand what is coming for the wicked, what are the destructions of the wicked in the last days, take the time to study the history of the nation of Assyria and Babylon, and how did they grow and prosper, and how were they destroyed. That's going to give you a template for what to examine and look for to understanding how are the wicked going to be destroyed in the last days. So a lot of information there to help us to learn. Well, let's jump over to the next chapter, chapter 40. This is going to go in a bit of a different direction. We're kind of done with the history. We're going to get back into the prophecies of Isaiah. So we'll see you in the next chapter.